Hi, my name is Sonia Aston, and I'm an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I've helped small and medium-sized businesses and business owners to make sure that their legal rights and interests are protected. As general counsel for you and your organization, I can draft and review solid contracts, minimize the risk of litigation, review and prepare comprehensive business succession plans, or help you navigate your company with the local, state, and federal government. Take a decisive step today. I'm here to make sure your legal rights are protected and you have a peace of mind that you deserve.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world, you are watching Now Media Television.
Hello and welcome. This show, Escape Velocity Space News, is new, and we're so glad that you're here with us right from the very start. I'm Dr. Pamela Gay, and along with a great production team, we're here to put science in your brain. At the time of this recording, we have just finished surviving the tsunami of science that was the American Astronomical Society's 241st semi-annual meeting. Right now, we're looking around and asking ourselves how much of our understanding of the universe needs rebuilt in the face of all this new information. In today's episode, we're going to bring you the best of what's been discovered and dive deep into the hottest topic of the week, the infrared universe. From stunning images from the JWST to better resolved star formations seen by the European Southern Observatory's very large telescope, we shouldn't be allowed to name things. This redder than red color of light has been all the rage in this season's best science papers. I have to admit, JWST's launch really was the event of the year for a lot of astronomers. Still, it was only one of several historic launches in 2022. Joining us in our final segment will be aerospace journalist Eric Mattis, who brings us a rundown of last year's best launches and the stats for what was a truly bizarre launch year in so many different ways. We bring you all of this and more right here on Escape Velocity Space News. Understanding our place in the universe is one of the fundamental reasons for doing astronomy. And it turns out that our place is a lot less isolated than we'd thought. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is part of a small group of galaxies that includes the nearby Andromeda Galaxy. For those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, the Andromeda Galaxy is the only object outside our galaxy that we can see with our unaided eyes. Located about 2.5 million light years away, Andromeda and our Milky Way are falling toward one another. In about 5 billion years, our systems will begin to dramatically merge, and most of us astronomers assumed it would be a good long time until our stars started to interact with Andromeda's stars. But that might not be the case. It turns out some of our galaxy's most distant stars are already halfway to Andromeda. UC Santa Cruz professor Raja Guha Thakurta made this discovery using images from the Next Generation Virgo Cluster Survey. The Canada-France-Hawaii telescope took numerous images of the sky in the direction of the Virgo cluster. Combined together, those images allowed the faint light of small distant galaxies to be observed. But taken separately, these images allowed the fluctuations of light from variable stars in the outskirts of our galaxy to be resolved. Called RR Lyrae stars, these variables fluctuate in brightness over the course of an evening in a distinctive heartbeat pattern. Thanks to a fluke of stellar evolution, all RR Lyrae stars have about the same luminosity, and just like the distance can be gauged by how bright a motorcycle headlight appears, the distance to these stars can be determined by measuring how faint they appear and calculating how far away they must be. Previously, researchers, including me, have used these stars to measure the distance to clusters of stars, to dwarf galaxies in our halo, and to estimate how big the disk of our galaxy just might be. This allowed us to understand that our galaxy is made of a disk around a bulge, with all those dense populations embedded in a much less dense halo of stars. Theory predicts that our galaxy's most distant stars should be less than 1 million light-years away. Guhu Thakurta's RR Lyrae variable star measurements, however, place the most distant RR Lyrae stars about 100,000 light-years further away than predicted, or fully halfway to Andromeda. It isn't possible to say with 100% certainty that these stars definitely belong to our galaxy or to the Andromeda galaxy. And these faint flickering stars hint at the possibility that our galaxy is, with its most distant stars at least, starting to play a game of I'm not touching you as our stars sweep past Andromeda's stars in this prelude to our future merger into becoming Milkdromeda. Mapping our sky is a bigger challenge than most people realize. Different kinds of stars require different kinds of observations, and the observations that make it easy to find variable stars, and those needed to find the hottest stars, and those needed to find the coldest stars, those are all different kinds of observations. On the hot side of the thermometer, stars shine bright in the ultraviolet, and in a new survey, researchers led by Amag Observatory's Simon Jeffrey used the South African Large Telescope to discover what appears to be some of the youngest and hottest white dwarf stars ever discovered. Left alone, all but the largest stars will one day shed their outer atmosphere to form a planetary nebula. This transition from star to nebula plus stellar remnant can take place in just millions of years, which, in a life that spans billions of years, is really just the blink of an eye. Short-lived objects are hard to find, but Jeffrey and his team were able to uncover 6 stars that seem to span either side of the line between still a star and no longer a star, but instead a white dwarf stellar remnant. One of these stars, called a naked OH star, appears to have just finished shedding its atmosphere and sits in the center of a newly discovered planetary nebula. Due to distance and faintness, this smudge of light is far from impressive to look at. But it's cool to know this is the start of something really amazing. It's our solar system's future. Our own middle-sized sun will one day form a planetary nebula, and its core will sit hotly in the center. This is us, in 5 billion years or so. Part of our desire to understand how our sun will die is rooted in our desire to understand how our own world will die. For now, the jury is still out on that one. If our sun manages to shed a lot of mass in its middle age, that mass loss will cause it to lose its gravitational grip on Earth, and our planet will be able to migrate far enough away to survive the sun's eventual expansion into a massive red giant star. If, like so many of us humans, the sun holds on to its weight, well, we're eventually doomed to be consumed. All told, this isn't the worst way for a planet to go. Astronomers observing the very first new planet the Kepler Space Telescope ever spotted have come to the conclusion that this world is fated to spiral into its home star. Catalogued as Kepler 1658b, this planet is roughly the size of Jupiter and orbits a star 3 times the width of the Sun every 3.8 days. That fast an orbit is only possible because the planet is exceedingly close to its star. If it was in our solar system, it would be 5% our distance from the Sun. And it's 5% our distance from the Sun and orbiting a star 3 times wider than the Sun. That is a dangerous place to be. Over the past 3 years, researchers were able to watch the planet's orbit get a snort shorter each year, shrinking 131 milliseconds per year, as its interactions with the star dragged it closer and closer. Researcher Shreyas Visaprada estimates that in 2 to 3 million years, the planet will fall into its star. It may just be that Kepler's first new planet will also be the first planet it discovered to die. Kepler was the first space telescope dedicated to finding new worlds orbiting distant stars. It was the first, but far from the last. Today, myriad different space telescopes contribute to planetary discovery. And one of the most successful is NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite. Launched in 2018, TESS continues to observe star after star, looking for the telltale dip in light that indicates a planet is passing between us and that star as it orbits. TESS's extended health is allowing it to reobserve stars across multiple years and to keep finding new planets in larger and slower orbits. On January 10, NASA announced that a new Earth-sized planet has been found orbiting in the habitable zone of a diminutive red star cataloged as TOI 700. This is the 4th planet found in this system, and the 2nd planet that is roughly Earth-sized and in the habitable zone. Standard disclaimer here. Being located in a star's habitable zone isn't enough to make a planet habitable. Venus and Mars are also in our Sun's habitable zone, and they very much define ways to die by fire or ice. All we really know is these worlds receive enough heat from their star that water has the potential to exist on their surface, if a lot of other atmospheric characteristics are tuned just right. Still, with every new discovery of an Earth-mass world orbiting an alien star, the more full of possibility our galaxy seems to become. I don't know if there is life out there among the stars, but I agree with Carl Sagan that it sure seems like an awful waste of space if we are here alone. For now, though, we are a long way from being able to definitively discover life in far distant solar systems. We are making progress toward that goal, progress that I am pleased to say finally includes being able to study distant atmospheres with the JWST. After the break, we're going to take a closer look at why astronomers are so excited to be able to explore the infrared sky with this giant gold-plated telescope. Stay tuned. A number of years ago, I was sitting toward the front of a smallish plane, an American Eagle commuter jet, and one of the flight attendants was chatting with the captain. For reasons I will never exactly know, the flight attendant called out, "Does anyone know why the sky is blue?" And I, without thinking through what I was doing, shouted back with equal enthusiasm, "Raleigh's scattering!" As one, all the surrounding passengers turned to stare at me, like I had broken all the rules of social decorum, and I promptly tried to hide and become invisible by working on my iPad. I can only guess the flight attendant and captain were having a discussion along the lines of, I bet no one knows why the sky is blue, and here I was with an answer. No one expects a random astrophysicist. The blue sky making effect, Rayleigh scattering, is one that creates some of the most beautiful landscapes and also one that drives astronomers to build telescopes that see redder and redder colors of light. Basically, Rayleigh scattering describes how light, like sunlight, in all its many colors, gets scattered as it passes through gas and dust, like is found in our atmosphere. Shorter wavelengths of light, ultraviolets and blues, get scattered more easily. With the sun high in the sky, blue photons entering our atmosphere may get bounced all around before they finally make it to our planet's surface. This scattering of blue light in all directions makes the daylight sky appear blue in all directions. This is just a matter of probabilities. Short wavelengths are more likely to be scattered, but the more material light tries to shine through, the more likely it is that we'll see redder and redder colors get scattered too. Golden winter days come from the low sun shining through more atmosphere. Ruddy sunsets come from the setting sun shining through yet more atmosphere. Our planet provides us a daily example of how Rayleigh scattering causes longer and longer wavelengths to have the opportunity to be scattered as starlight passes through more and more dust and gas. Our world's atmosphere is only one way that starlight can get scattered. Our galaxy is full of clouds of material that are in the process of forming stars, and we see bright blue nebula created by scattering starlight, and we also see deep red emission nebula, where some starlight is able to, like a sunset, shine red through that nebula. Having nebulae shine brightly can make for stunning images, but it can also deeply frustrate astronomers trying to understand what is going on inside those star-forming clouds and what lurks behind them. And this is where infrared light becomes so important. These longer wavelengths of light can travel unscattered through these clouds of material, allowing researchers to see what is going on. Unfortunately, not all colors of infrared light get through our atmosphere. Molecules like water act like sponges, absorbing up all the infrared photons. To see clearly in the infrared, we need to get above the humidity and the air, and that is why we tend to put infrared telescopes like JWST into space. Side note. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the person JWST was named after, former NASA Administrator James Webb. Documents have shown he was part of the Lavender Scare, during which members of the LGBTQ community were often fired for loving the wrong people, in his opinion. We here at EVSN, following the style guides of an increasing number of publications, have chosen to always refer to this new telescope as JWST, and imagine it is actually named something like the Just Wonderful Space Telescope. Science can be beautiful, but like all human endeavors, it often suffers the drama of politics and ego. Anyways, back to infrared light and JWST. Launched on Christmas Day 2021, the JWST is the most complex telescope ever put in space. Its 6.5 meter mirror is made of 18 hexagonal segments that allowed it to be folded up to fit into a rocket's launch fairing. This telescope's first many months were spent slowly unfolding its mirrors and other structures, and then calibrating everything so that in-focus science could be done. We saw JWST's first images in July of last year, and now, 6 months later, we're starting to see the flood of science that those and subsequent images are making possible. And JWST lets us see into the nebulae. In its first image release, JWST revealed the cosmic cliffs of the Carina Nebula in never-before-seen detail. That press release image combined all the JWST data to show opaque clouds against blue gas. If we switch to only using JWST's longest wavelength images, the opacity goes away, and young stars with powerful jets are suddenly revealed. Stars and solar systems form through the fragmentation and collapse of giant molecular clouds. As material streams onto a newly forming star, some of it will get caught up in magnetic fields and fired out in powerful jets. These jets can slam into surrounding material and cause it to light up as a structure called a Herbig-Haro object. Using JWST, researchers led by Rice University's Megan Ryder were able to confirm all previously suspected young stars, see jets, and Herbig-Haro objects. And then they went on to discover 24 previously unknown outflows, 15 possible protostars, and several new Herbig-Haro objects. And while it is cool to list things out by the numbers, what really matters is this is allowing us to directly see how stars collapse out of the gas, light up, and then shock their surroundings into forming yet more stars. This process, called stellar feedback, causes stars to eat away at molecular clouds from the inside out. In the process, magnificent towers like the pillars of creation can get temporarily carved out. These massive clouds give us a population-wide view on star formation. But in these crowded fields, it's hard to see the details of any one individual. Luckily, there are stars that are near enough and isolated enough that we can see, thanks to JWST, magnificent structures. A forming star in the Taurus star-forming region, a star we've adopted for our show's background, well, it has a wee dark band in its nebulosity that marks where a planetary disk may orbit. The two cones of light are from the star's light escaping the disk, and like flashlight beams, they're expanding out through the dusty surrounding space. By studying nebulae like the cosmic cliffs, the pillars of creation, and so many individual forming stars, we can piece together how stars form. And we can also piece together, using very different nebulae, exactly how stars die. In the first segment of this show, we talked about how stars like our Sun will one day form white dwarfs and planetary nebulae. While hot stars like white dwarfs are better suited for other scopes, JWST is already providing us new insights into the myriad different shapes these nebulae can take. As the stars shed their outer layers, material can come off in puffs, in jagged exhalations, and myriad other ways. This material is shaped by any planets in the system. Part of the original justification for the Hubble Space Telescope was making sense of planetary nebulae. Turns out, progress was made, but their complexity still needs bigger telescopes. And JWST is getting us that much further along in our science. The Southern Ring Nebula is the first example that JWST imaged. Stepping through different colors of light, the Space Telescope revealed the diffuse gas that fills the inner region of the nebula, as well as the delicate shock waves and other structures that fill the outer region. A team led by Ursula DeMarco were able to translate these observations into a new understanding of the messy death of a slightly larger star being orbited by a somewhat smaller star in a system that has had 4 stars. This was reverse engineered from seeing how gas has been blown in the stellar winds. This is like trying to understand how many fans are in an auditorium by watching how colored dust blows in the wind. This is impressive science. This is especially impressive science to have been accomplished so quickly. JWST is adding layers and nuance to our understanding of the life and death of stars, And while stars are the building blocks of much of the universe, studying them causes us to sometimes ignore the forest while we focus on the trees and sometimes just look at the leaves on the trees. JWST, however, has already started to change how we look at the entirety of our universe. But that is a story for later in our show. For now, we're going to switch gears and look at 2022's rocket launches and spacecraft adventures by the numbers with our aerospace correspondent, Eric Mattis. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Joining me now is our aerospace correspondent, Eric Mattis. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm blown away by everything that happened in 2022 in aerospace. It feels like we somehow doubled the number of satellites orbiting our planet.
We didn't double quite, but we have tripled the number of satellites in orbit, active satellites in orbit since 2019.
That's absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to hear all the aerospace by the numbers that you have to bring us.
I'm looking forward to it. Every year is year of firsts and of lasts. 2022 was no different. Let's start a review of 2022 with Mars. First, some good news. The Curiosity rover celebrated its 10th year on Mars, and the Perseverance rover started collecting and depositing samples for a future return mission. China's Zhurong rover and Tianwen orbiter continued operations, as did the United Arab Emirates' first mission to Mars, the Emirates Mars mission. Unfortunately, 2022 saw a lot of bad news for missions to Mars as well. The InSight Mars landers mission ended, but other NASA Mars missions, including the Ingenuity helicopter, continued their work. Ingenuity is currently 37 flights into its 5-flight mission, 18 of which took place in 2022. Sadly, InSight succumbed to one of Mars's legendary dust storms after 4 years in operations on the Red Planet. It's always a hard time when a mission comes to an end, but InSight accomplished a lot during its relatively short mission. In its 4-year, 19-day mission, it discovered nearly 2,000 Marsquakes and made numerous other discoveries about the planet's interior composition. Wrapping up the sad news about missions on Mars, India's Mars orbiter mission came to an end after its antenna failed. Like most of the other Mars missions we've talked about, ISRO's mission also greatly exceeded its planned operational lifetime. 2022 was supposed to see the launch of the ExoMars rover, but the launch was cancelled by the European Space Agency following Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. After the cancellation, ESA started talks with NASA to build the rover's landing system for launch in a future Mars window. More on other impacts on Russia's hostilities later. In terms of spacecraft missions, 2022 could be called the year of the moon. NASA's Capstone mission and South Korea's Korea Pathfinder lunar orbiter launched and arrived at the moon last year. Both missions were small and took an unusually long but low-energy trajectory to the moon. In the case of Capstone, this allowed it to be launched on a much smaller rocket, specifically an Electron from Rocket Lab, while KPLO launched on a Falcon 9, using a fraction of the rocket's available volume in its payload fairing. Capstone had a little more trouble as it lost contact with the ground several times during its trip, but the spacecraft team was able to solve those problems, allowing it to start science operations. Those science operations will be used to determine the stability of the near rectilinear halo orbit for future missions of NASA's Orion spacecraft when it visits the Gateway lunar station. Speaking of Orion, NASA's Space Launch System rocket finally launched on November 16, 2022, after several dramatic delays due to the vehicle's complicated fueling system. The years of development paid off because the mission was nearly flawless, with the exception of the failure of several CubeSat secondary payloads after deployment from the rocket's second stage. These failures were expected before the mission even launched, however, due to problems with charging them once they were loaded on the rocket. Moving to the outer solar system, Juno is still in operation around Jupiter. In 2022, it conducted a close flyby of Europa in late September and returned the closest images of that moon since 2003. Returning to Earth, it was a barnstorming year of rocket launches, with 2022 setting another record for most attempted launches at 186. 7 of those were failures. The largest number of launches was from China, with their many different Long March rockets that conducted 64 flights in 2022. China completed their Tiangong space station with the launch of the Wentian and Mengtian modules in July and October, respectively, giving them a station capable of supporting a permanent crew of 3 and 6 during crew handovers. SpaceX accounted for 61 launches on its own, with 60 Falcon 9s and 1 Falcon Heavy. The most active pad in 2022 was SpaceX's leased Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, which hosted 28 launches. Combined with neighboring Space Launch Complex 41, they accounted for 34 launches from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, the most of any spaceport in 2022, followed by the various pads of China's Xiuquan Satellite Launch Center, which totaled 23. These included the 2 crewed launches of Shenzhou 14 and 15. Russia conducted 14 launches, mostly from their Plesetsk Cosmodrome in Russia itself. Russia launched 1 Soyuz from the Guiana Space Center in French Guiana, a single batch of OneWeb satellites 2 weeks before they invaded Ukraine. The Russian government then held the next batch of OneWeb satellites in Kazakhstan, refusing to launch it as a bargaining chip against Western sanctions. As of press time, they have not returned the satellites, but are negotiating their return to secure the return of one of the Soyuz rockets in French Guiana. Also, they kept the money from the prepaid launches and used the Soyuz rockets built for the OneWeb launches for their Russian payloads. The month with the most launches in 2022 was November, with 20, all of which were successful. The expected inaugural orbital launch of the Starship Super Heavy rocket did not occur, as expected in 2022, with SpaceX waiting on several permits from the government and needing to finish preparations on the launch site and rocket. Other major events in 2022 included the beginning of the JWST science data releases and the dramatic on-orbit failure of the primary cooling loop of the Soyuz MS-22 spacecraft. As of press time, the plan is for MS-22 to return autonomously, as there are concerns about how the flight computers are going to behave when the temperature in the capsule rises above the usual levels due to loss of coolant. A replacement Soyuz, MS-23, will be launched without a crew on board and used to return the crew that should have returned on MS-22. However, MS-22 will not depart the ISS until MS-23 is safely docked, so that it is available for the crew in the event of an emergency that necessitates leaving the ISS.
That was an amazing amount of rocketry to occur in 1 year, and not all of it good. And this year, our rocket stats aren't all for good or evil either. We have both things that blew up and things that didn't. And we're going to bring those stats to you next. Just like your local news brings you the weather, we here at EVSN are going to bring you the highs and lows of rocket launches around the world. Each week, we're going to bring you a roundup of what has gone up and, as happened this past couple of weeks, what has failed to go up. Here's where I get to welcome back Eric Mattis. Hey, Eric.
Hi, Pamela.
To help us understand 2023 in context, I hear you have all the 2022 numbers for us.
I do, and there are some pretty amazing numbers. For instance, do you know how many toilets are in space?
No, but I think you're about to tell me.
I am. Let's start with the basics. The number of toilets in space is 9. 4 on the ISS, 2 on the Tiangong space station, 1 soon to be burned up on Soyuz MS-22, 1 on Crew Dragon Freedom, and 1 on Shenzhou 14. We keep track of orbital launches by launch site, also called spaceport. Here's the final breakdown for 2022. USA 78, China 64, Russia 14, New Zealand 9, Kazakhstan 8, French Guiana 5, India 5, Iran 1, South Korea 1, and Japan 1. From those 186 launches, a total of 2,354 spacecraft were put into orbit. 7 of those launches were failures. 2023 got off to a shaky start with 2 orbital launches that failed within a day of each other in the first week of January: Virgin Orbit's Start Me Up and ABL's Demo 1. Virgin Orbit has not disclosed the cause of their failure, while ABL reported that their first rocket failed because of a fire in the engine bay that caused a loss of electrical power, leading to the shutdown of all of the first stage engines 10 seconds after liftoff. They've built the second RS-1 already, so it remains to be seen what modifications need to be done to fix it before a hopefully successful second launch attempt. 10 other rockets have launched in the first 20 days of 2023, mostly from SpaceX and China. This continues the trend in 2022, which we talked about earlier in the show. SpaceX launched Transporter 6 with over 100 small satellites on January 3rd, OneWeb 16 on January 10th, Falcon Heavy for the US Space Force on January 15th, the 6th GPS-3 satellite, also for the Space Force, on January 18th, and yet another batch of Starlinks the very next day on January 19th. China has launched 4 Long March rockets and a Series 1 rocket so far this year. We've learned to not forecast space events too far into the future, as launch dates are subject to change until the moment the rocket actually leaves the launch pad. What we can say for certain is that in 2023, the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft will return its sample of asteroid Bennu to Earth and begin its extended mission to the asteroid Apophis. The Bepi-Colombo mission will perform its third Mercury flyby, and Juno will fly by Io. We'll have more in-depth coverage of these and other events when they happen. What's after them? You'll just have to watch us in the future to find out.
Thanks, Eric. I can't wait to see if 2023 is able to keep pace with 2022. All those launches give us yet one more reason to put telescopes far, far from Earth. JWST is in a place where the likelihood it will catch another spacecraft in its images by accident is extremely low. And that lack of interloping satellites means JWST can peer deeply into the hearts of distant clusters of galaxies and look for the places where gravity can help us peer even deeper into space. Telescopes work by gathering large amounts of light with mirrors or lenses. The larger the collecting area, the fainter we see. Telescopes also magnify tiny features. This 1-2 punch of gathering light and magnifying that light is why we are able to study distant corners of the universe. But sometimes, the things we want to study, the first stars to shine, the first galaxies to form, these objects are so far away that detecting them is at the very edge of what is possible. Luckily, sometimes we can get a helping hand from gravity. The path of light, just like the path of a thrown ball, can get curved by gravity. Our sun can just slightly deflect the light of stars, but we can really only see that during an eclipse when we can see the stars nearest the sun's edge on the sky. To really bend light, you need something truly massive. A cluster of hundreds to thousands of galaxies, many with masses trillions of times larger than the mass of our sun, that can get the job done. Basically, light that was originally shining towards some other part of the universe can get bent by gravity to instead fly toward us. The more gravity, the more light can get bent. And the brighter the background stars and galaxies can end up appearing. This is imperfect. Galaxy clusters are more like funhouse mirrors than telescope mirrors. Still, seeing distorted first galaxies is better than not seeing the first galaxies at all. And JWST is seeing a lot of distorted galaxies. Many of them are in an image from JWST's first release. Cataloged as SMACS 0723, this cluster was observed for 12.5 hours. The light from the galaxy cluster has been traveling for 4.6 billion years to reach us. And in between the stunningly structured cluster galaxies, we are able to map out hundreds of streaks with light that has been traveling toward us for more than 13 billion years. These distorted streaks of light, these galaxies, they formed in the first few 100 million years that our universe existed. We see the exact same thing, but with less distortion, looking at galaxy cluster Abell 2744. Made of 4 merging systems, this cluster is a bit closer at only 3.9 billion light years away. It is also more massive at 4 trillion solar masses. Our theories on how our universe went from basically a single point to the vastness we experience today led us to expect the first stars and galaxies would be forming, or at least starting to form, in those first few 100 million years. What has us all a bit confused is the initial analysis of JWST's images are showing a whole lot more galaxies and larger galaxies than we had expected. At the time of this recording, the 2 most well-studied of these early galaxies are shining at us from 350 million and 450 million years after the Big Bang. These systems have been studied by 2 separate teams, one led by MIT's Rohan Naidu, and the other led by Marco Castellano of the Astronomical Observatory of Rome in Italy. Both teams got similar results, and the research from both teams has now been published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. And still preliminary results seem to indicate other galaxies may be shining from as early as 200 million years after the Big Bang. And we've only really started to do this analysis. These early discoveries seem to be hinting at a new revolution in cosmology. We're going to have to find some new concept, substance, force, something we can't guess at yet that builds on what we see in our modern universe and fits with what we are now discovering in the early universe. And this is awesome. Scientists like me, we don't know everything. No scientist, not even the ones with Nobel Prizes, have all the answers. The thing is, we do science because we want to know everything. And with each new telescope and each new image set, we're going to keep striving to learn more about this amazing universe we all share. Okay, before we go, I'd like to switch gears for a moment and alert you to a comet that is showing signs that it just might put on a show. Cataloged as 2022 E3 ZTF, this icy object is on an extreme orbit that last brought it near Earth when Neanderthals walked our planet. Discovered by the Zwicky Transient Facility in March 2022, C2022 E3 is heading into our solar system and should grow in brightness in the coming weeks. Comets are fickle, and I can't tell you if it will become an easily visible fuzzy blob of light or if it will stay so faint it can only be seen with binoculars. I, for one, am holding out hope that we're going to have something bright. Comet experts are currently predicting it should become visible to the unaided eye for folks in dark locations. Currently, C2022 E3 can be seen with binoculars in the hours before dawn. Over time, it will slowly move from the constellation Corona Borealis to Boötes to Draco. Astrophotographers are already capturing stunning images that show a bright green nucleus. That's not how you say that word. Nucleus. Okay, trying to say that again. Currently, C2022 E3 can be seen with binoculars in the hours before dawn. Over time, it will slowly move from the constellation Corona Borealis to Boötes and Draco. Astrophotographers are already capturing stunning images that show a bright green core, a fan of dust, and a long, intricate plasma tail. That green color comes from the breakdown of C2, dicarbon, molecules in sunlight. The dust, well, that's just a reminder that comets aren't just snowballs. They're made of a rich mix of different ices as well as various rock materials that can get expelled as the comet becomes active as it gets closer and closer to the sun. Comet 2022 E3 ZTF was closest to the sun on January 12th, but its closest approach didn't have it even as close as the Earth gets to the sun. We don't expect this comet to fall apart. Its orbit is, however, evolving. And it looks like this will be the last time Earth sees this comet. After this passage, it will escape our solar system and travel freely through our galaxy until it gets caught up in some alien star system. To find Comet C 2022 E3 ZTF for yourself, check out the website inthesky.org. We'll have a link on our website, escapevelocity.media. Before we go, I'd like to leave you with this space fact. In January 1610, Galileo Galilei pointed a handmade telescope at Jupiter and recorded that it was accompanied by a suite of smaller points of light. On January 7, he saw 3 points, but on January 11, a 4th point was found as well. In just a matter of days, he was able to document these dots moving with Jupiter as it wandered through the stars, and he detailed how their motion was like the motion of planets, only a bit slower paced. Today we know these 4 points of light were the Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Callisto, and lastly Ganymede. They are named after the dalliances of the god Jupiter, as if to say, even Roman gods can get followed around by their mistakes. 412 years after their discovery, we now know these worlds are dynamic environments, each unique and worthy of its own space mission. For now, we look forward to the Juno mission's 8 upcoming 2023 flybys of Io and the 2024 launch of the Europa Clipper, which we hope to see reach its namesake in 2030. That's it for tonight. We'll be back next week with more science and rocketry. Good night, and remember to look up.
This has been a Now Media television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
As a critical aspect of your operations, you need the right technology partner to provide you and your business the peace of mind of having reliable and efficient IT systems. In addition, with cyber threats, ransomware at an all-time high, adequate, continuous, and proactive data protection for your business is an absolute must. Hi, this is Roland Parker with Impress Computer Solutions. We are experts in tailored IT solutions and professional 24/7 IT support services. We proactively monitor, maintain, manage, and protect your IT and data assets. Additionally, we have the know-how and horsepower to do the correct procuring of any and all computer systems or software your company may need. Having the correct IT infrastructure and not being able to operate safely and correctly is very expensive and can eventually destroy growth. So take a decisive step and call me today for a complimentary consultation at 281-647-9977 for your unique IT needs.
Proteja su salud y la de su familia con la cobertura adecuada. Si ustedes, como el resto de nosotros que sabemos que la causa número 1 de bancarrota en el país son costos médicos inesperados debido a una mala cobertura, entonces les recomiendo que escuche con atención. Un copago del 20% de sus gastos médicos originados por una enfermedad como cáncer o un accidente podría eliminar en días los ahorros por los que trabajó toda su vida. Sin mencionar la necesidad de tener acceso a los mejores médicos y hospitales tras el tratado en eventos inesperados. Como dueño de una empresa, usted trabaja más duro que los demás y usted es el mayor riesgo. Por eso, cuando se trata de elegir un seguro de salud, es importante obtener la cobertura adecuada para usted y su familia con Clark Health Insurance. Nuestra misión es ayudar a los propietarios de pequeñas empresas, familias y contratistas independientes a elegir el plan de seguro de salud adecuado al costo correcto. Nosotros simplificamos el proceso y respondemos a todas sus preguntas sobre sus opciones de seguro médico y comparamos las políticas y los precios, obteniendo la mejor opción posible para usted. Además, podemos ofrecerle planes de visión y dentales suplementarios que podrían ahorrarle mucho dinero. En cada paso, Clark Health Insurance está dedicado a usted y su familia, enfocándonos en sus necesidades y guiándolo hacia las soluciones correctas. Juntos encontraremos una manera de maximizar su cobertura y minimizar los gastos de su bolsillo. Somos Clark Health Insurance. Proteja su salud y comience a ahorrar dinero en su seguro hoy. Comprar o vender una propiedad es un paso que impacta su vida y la vida de su familia y sus seres queridos. De hecho, estudios demuestran que tener un grupo de agentes de bienes raíces con experiencia garantiza un mejor precio al momento de vender, comprar o alquilar una propiedad. Si quiere comprar o vender una propiedad, LMS Realty es su solución. Contamos con los recursos y la experiencia para agilizar su transacción con facilidad y alcanzar el mejor precio posible. Al mismo tiempo, LMS Group puede hacer evaluaciones de mercado y podemos proporcionar varias soluciones de financiamiento para encontrarle la casa de sus sueños. Además, LMS Realty puede proporcionar varias soluciones de financiamiento para que pueda tener su casa con un menor costo posible. Tome acción hoy mismo. LMS Realty es su solución ideal.
República H, con Sofía García.
Una república que necesita saber cuál es el camino correcto. En República H te diremos qué pasa en cada rincón del país. ¿Qué pasa en tu estado? ¿Qué hace tu gobernador, presidente municipal o alcalde en materia de seguridad, salud, desarrollo, economía o servicios básicos para atender a su población? Tenemos desplegados más de 70 corresponsales en todo el país y más allá de las fronteras. República H, de lunes a viernes a las 8 de la noche por Heraldo Televisión.
¿Qué Onda Magazine? Una publicación hispana de noticias y entretenimiento. Sirviendo a la comunidad hispana por más de 25 años. El mejor contenido para estar informado. Política, comunidad, moda, cultura, entretenimiento, cocina, comercio y más. Obtenga su copia gratis en todas las taquerías Arandas.
Are you considering selling more than likely what is the most expensive investment, your home, now or in the near future? Before you throw away precious equity down the drain and live to regret it, I'd like to share with you 5 reasons why you need to stage your space, whether living in it or selling it vacant. Hello, I'm Kat Trelinos, President, Master Staging Professional, and CEO of Tada by Kat Next Level Staging and Design. Number 1, you need to stage because you'll make more money. According to the National Association of Realtors, more than 5 to 20% more staged. Number 2, so buyers can visualize the staged property as their next home. Stage because number 3, not staging will only help sell your competition stage homes. Successful realtors know that the key to competing is professional staging because it creates great online presentations, drives buyer traffic to the home, and brings the highest offers. Number 4, stage because it makes the home seem larger when strategic placement and flow are created with proper staging. And number 5, stage because then you can relax. knowing you've done everything possible to get a quick sale, not leave any money on the table. Let our award-winning team bring the magic of next-level staging to your property today. Be prepared to be charad. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, my name's Chris Baker, the newest host at Now Media Television. Join us daily for the Chris Baker Show. News, information, commentary, and guaranteed fireworks. That starts January 2nd on the Now Media News Network.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Godet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
I was recently asked what it means to be a family lawyer. What is family law? Family law is not just about divorce or custody or child support. Family law is about your life. As a family lawyer, I protect your children, your wealth, your future. I don't do this alone. As your attorney, we work as a team to determine your goals and priorities and provide a strategy in an often complex, painful, and confusing time. Whether it's asset protection through pre- or post-marital agreements, or fighting to protect your children, I'm here to help. My team and I bring decades of combined experience to support you and your family in all aspects of family and wealth planning, from estate and legacy planning, to divorce and child custody issues, to representation in complex litigation cases. Take a decisive step. We're here when you're ready. Remember, it's about your life.
Are you a small business owner who's overwhelmed and exhausted? You've tried many strategies, but your business just isn't where you want it to be. You wish someone would give you a roadmap to grow your business so that you can finally live the life you've imagined. Now is the time to get crystal clear on your business strategy so that you can work smarter, not harder. With our support, you can fully step into your CEO role and run your business rather than your business running you. Hi, I'm Jen Drago, award-winning strategist and business coach. I help entrepreneurs and small business owners develop a laser-focused roadmap so that they can earn more, work fewer hours, and amplify their impact. Let's face it, most of the small business advice that's available online is cookie cutter and filled with fluff that will never serve you. It's time for you to stop doing things that aren't moving your business forward. I will help you develop an actionable, focused plan to grow your business in a way that lights you up. Contact me today at peaktoprofit.com to get started on your business growth roadmap.
En vivo de